leaders or the designees. At 11, there will be a cloture vote on the motion to proceed to S649, which is the gun safety legislation. If cloture is invoked, I would hope that we can reach an agreement to begin debate on the bill today. We have people waiting in the wings to offer amendments. The first amendment that will be offered is one that has been negotiated for quite some time with Senator Manchin and Senator Toomey and Senator Kirk. I've had calls from my Republican colleagues indicating they have some amendments they want to offer. So let's get on the bill. Let's not waste 30 hours, and I hope that in fact, can happen so we can start legislating today. Mr. President, life can change in a moment. In Carson City, Nevada, a little over a year ago, actually, time goes quickly. It was in September of 2011, September 6th, shortly before 9 o'clock in the morning. A deeply disturbed man with an automatic weapon stepped out of his car outside a Carson City, Nevada restaurant. In the few brief seconds that followed, he fired nearly 80 rounds from an automatic weapon, spraying bullets on the parking lot and into this IHOP restaurant that was packed for breakfast with customers. He killed 4 people instantly, wounded 7 others, and he took his own life after that. That took 85 seconds. And in those 85 seconds, 5 lives ended, and countless more were altered forever. 3 Nevada Army National Guardsmen were on their way to work that morning. 31-year-old Sergeant First Class Miranda McElhenney, 38-year-old Sergeant First Class Christian Reid, and 35-year-old Major Heath Kelly. Florence Gunderson, who was eating breakfast with her husband, was also killed, murdered. In that 85 seconds, Carson City joined the likes of Tucson, Fort Hood, Texas, Blackbird, Virginia, Columbine, Colorado, and scores of other cities and towns in America rocked by mass shootings in recent decades. And like those other cities and towns, Carson City was left asking, why? Maybe, Mr. President, we will never know. The gunman had been diagnosed with schizophrenia earlier. He had been involuntarily committed by law enforcement officials to a mental institution. He had recently confided to a priest that his voices that he heard in his head told him to continue to do bad things. A lot is not clear, but what is clear is how the shooter obtained 2 assault rifles, 2 handguns, and almost 600 rounds of ammunition he took to that IHOP that day. Mr. President, I don't know. No one really knows what happened. It's not clear what happened. Where did he get those weapons? Remember, 2 assault rifles, 2 handguns, and about 600 rounds of ammunition that he took with him to the parking lot to start shooting people. Even though all that's not clear, how he obtained those assault weapons, this much is clear. We have a responsibility to do everything in our power to keep guns out of the hands of those who suffer from mental illness. Now, Mr. President, I think it's clear that we mean severe mental illness. I think with our families, we've all had individuals who have periods of time when they're depressed. Illnesses that make them a danger to themselves and others. We must keep weapons out of their hands. We have a responsibility also to keep the hands out of criminals, convicted felons. The measure before the Senate today would institute universal background checks that would prevent those people from buying firearms. Severely depressed, strike that, with severe mental illness. I want to make sure we stress that. And criminals. This legislation would also crack down on anyone who buys a gun to funnel it to criminals. And it would give schools the resources to improve security and keep children safe. This bill won't stop every madman determined to take innocent lives. And I know that. We all know that. Nor is this bill the only suggestion to prevent gun violence. In the coming days, we'll debate other proposals to make Americans safer. An assault weapons ban will be debated and voted on. Improvements to our mental health system will be debated and voted on. A ban on high-capacity clips like those used to kill 4 people in Carson City at the IHOP. The hunter, it'll look at how the man in Aurora, Colorado, how he was able to get a magazine with 100 bullets in it. That's the only reason, Mr. President, the people in Colorado weren't massacred even more. The gun jammed. There are powerful feelings about each of the proposals I've mentioned, both strong support, strong opposition. But whichever side you're on, we ought to be able to agree to exchange thoughtful debate about these measures. Let's engage in it. We ought to be able to agree to a careful examination of the culture of violence that has grown in this nation. I'm pleased that a number of reasonable Republicans have joined Democrats in welcoming this debate, saying they're not going to invoke cloture. I hope we have enough to have cloture invoked. I feel fairly confident that that, in fact, is the case. As I've indicated, Mr. President, for the last many weeks, we're going to have an open amendment process as possible on this bill. As always, the process will depend on the goodwill of all senators. Somebody could come and do all kinds of things to stop us from doing anything on the bill. I hope that's not the case. Once we're on the underlying bill, the First Amendment, as I've indicated, will be on a substitute compromise background check proposal offered by Senators Manchin, Toomey, Kirk, and Schumer. I thank the senators for the diligent work on this issue. They've been working a long time. I'm hopeful we'll be able to debate and vote on a reasonable number of amendments offered by senators who feel passionately about reducing gun violence or respecting Americans' Second Amendment rights. I also respect those that want to weaken the laws that now exist. They have a right to try to do that. But, Mr. President, 3 soldiers, Miranda, Christian, and Heath, and Florence, who was not a soldier, but was one of those killed. And they deserve some attention. There were 7 people that were hurt with the spraying of these bullets, and those that were killed. That was a terrible day in Carson City, and they, each one of them, deserve a thoughtful debate, and they deserve votes.